O.J. Simpson's history of abusing Nicole and still think he didn't kill her and Ron is absurd to me. They got together when she was freshly 18 and he was 30. He also made her drop out of school to spend more time with him and was already rich, famous, and married.
So, true crime, a prevalent topic nowadays, one that stretches across generations as well as platforms. But have you ever asked yourself why you are so involved in a case? Why you spend your time listening to other people's opinion on a case miles away from you that, in reality, has no relation to you? And why is your YouTube subscribe feed or homepage filled of people discussing bad things happening to other people? And why are you clicking on them? Let's look into this. So this true crime series will be in 3 parts. This is part 1 of 3. So if you're interested, make sure to click the notification bell to get notified whenever the next video is dropped. So the question for this video: why do we watch true crime? 1. To feed our shadow self, as well as catharsis. So what is your shadow self? In Jungian psychology, the shadow self is an unconscious part of your personality that the conscious ego does not identify in itself. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung described that we have aspects of our personality that we choose to repress, and though we sometimes think we are good, that might not be the case. And the reason why we think we are good humans with good morals is probably due to the fact that we repress our shadow self. According to Jung's theory, we distance ourselves psychologically from those behaviors, emotions, and thoughts that we find to be dangerous. So by us watching true crime, we might be feeding our repressed shadow self. Though we might not be able to pursue the act of murder, for example, our shadow self could possibly partake in the act, though we are most likely not aware of that. And by identifying the part of us that is capable of that, we can bring it closer to our conscious self, which would allow us to understand it. The idea behind that is to integrate our persona, also known as conscious self, to our shadow self. And by bringing out the hidden parts of our psyche, we would be integrating it with our persona, making it easier for us to understand it. Catharsis. The process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong emotions. It comes from the Greek word meaning purification. The person that brought this idea to light is Aristotle. Whenever he asked himself, why do men enjoy writing, painting, singing on topics that are gory, also known as just tragedies? Well, he came to answer his question with, men use art to release their own frustration, fear, anxieties, as well as dark thoughts. So maybe one of the reasons you make true crime is because you're just expressing and releasing emotions that you find hard to express in other circumstances. So whether you are watching true crime because you're feeding your shadow self or catharsis, you're doing it for a reason that you might not be aware of. Well, now is maybe the time for you to ask yourself questions. Why do you watch the things you watch? And if true crime falls in the list of things you watch, why do you spend your time trying to figure out a mystery? Or why do you enjoy watching bad things happen to others? Maybe it's one of the two, catharsis, or maybe you're just feeding your shadow self. But there's more than just that, because watching true crime seems to prepare us for the worst. It is a known fact that women are the biggest demography for true crime. Whenever a video is published or a book is published on the topic of true crime, 70% of the people that will consume these will be women. And that is what psychologists were trying to figure out. Why are women so drawn to true crime? And that's going to be the topic for my next video. We will be trying to understand why we as women are the ones consuming all the videos and reading all the books that are on the topic of true crime? Well, there was a study published in 2010 that tried to answer that question. Why women are more likely to be drawn to true crime? Well, Amanda Vickery, the study's lead author, told the Huffington Post that by learning about murders, who is more likely to be a murderer, and how do these victims and crimes happen, who are the victims, etc., people are also learning about ways to prevent becoming a victim themselves. So, if you've ever wondered why you might be sat in your sofa and binge watching series on people that found themselves in very dangerous situation with a sad end, that might be because you're preparing yourself mentally for something that could potentially happen to you. But there's also more than that, obviously. Could it be an evolutionary benefit? We've evolved to pay attention to the things that can harm us. Through that, we gain knowledge on how to avoid them and how to survive them if we failed to avoid them. Take going to the zoo as an example. On my island, we have the opportunity to go walk with lions, pet lions, cheetahs, etc. And though we know that these lions and cheetahs and just big cats in general could potentially kill us, we still feel intrigued and want to study them. And when we try to learn about them, we also find out that there are ways to survive in cases where big cats did attack us. And that is what we've been doing for a very long time. We've used the experience of others to help us go about our life. If you think about it, one of the reasons we as Homo sapiens are still alive till this day is because of speech and because of our ability to tell stories. And whenever we tell stories, we tell the experience. And our own experience could help the next generation. And by doing so, we've been learning about what is dangerous, what is helpful, and what we could do to stay alive. That might be what is happening right now. What if the reason why we're so engrossed with it is because we're just preparing ourselves for something that could potentially happen, as well as gaining knowledge to pass down to our children, for example. Reasons as to why we enjoy that. Why do we spend our time trying to solve puzzles or riddles? Well, I suppose the best answer to this would be because we want to understand something others cannot. We enjoy puzzles and true crime shows because the lack of understanding pushes us to want to know more about the situation, or as much as we possibly can. And the people who can play armchair detective and try to figure out who did it, well, they're trying to do it either because they find enjoyment out of being able to understand something that most cannot, or because they're trying to catch the perpetrator before law enforcement can catch them themselves. And since 2/3 of killers are caught, known serial killers that aren't caught within a few months are quite unlikely. And that intrigues us. We want to know how they did it. And we want to know why law enforcement had such a hard time finding them. And that makes us want to know more about it. I mean, if the people that are trained to find those people can't find them, there must be something very special with that specific perpetrator. And we want to know more about them and the crimes they committed. Maybe you're finding yourself watching true crime to feed your shadow self, or catharsis. You could possibly just prepare yourself for the worst. Or could it potentially just be an evolutionary trait that we've learned over the years? Or maybe simply, you just really like mysteries. Whether it's one of those reasons or none of them, you are really the only one that can answer it. So if you don't have an answer to it, sit down and ask yourself, why do you watch the things you do, and why are you so interested in them? For the next video, we will be talking about why women are the ones watching true crime and consuming true crime content. I hope you liked this video. Comment, subscribe, and like or dislike really. And if you want to watch other videos, make sure to tell me whatever you want in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!